US is the highest international student market.
So let's get straight into this.
Question was about the quarantine.
Yes.
Which university would pay my quarantine fees? 100,000 a day, or maybe you can spend 100,000 a month.
When a student is to go abroad,
Guaranteed scholarship. Your option should be USA.
hello and welcome to Expert Tea Talk. Today we have a very special guest with us. We have the country manager of 𝐂𝐀𝐍𝐊𝐀, Mr. Chami Jayamaha. Hi Chami, welcome to the show.
Hi Sanavi, how are you doing?
All good, all good. So first and foremost, how has this new normal been treating you?
So it's been almost closer to 2 years now, so it's going crazy. But there are a lot, I would say, that we learned in that 2 years, which were never expected. But glad we all are safe and going through. But sorry for the ones who lost their lives. But we have to live with it. So it's the new normal now. So wearing masks and being very hygienic. So however, I don't know for how long this is gonna go further. But I hope this will be ending up sooner the better.
That's the hope. That's the hope. All right. So let's get straight into business.
Yeah.
Now, the topic we're going to talk about today, or the area of expertise that we want from you, is about USA.
That's right.
When it comes to higher education and such, why USA?
Great. So thanks, Sanavi, first of all, for having me here today. So it's good. I actually even was waiting for this opportunity for a very long time, because most of the Sri Lankan students and also the other partners, or the recruitment partners, we call it has. So they are more focusing on a particular destination. So I don't want to name which one is ours. But US was a part always. So it was not a priority for Sri Lankan students. But I would say most of Sri Lankan students, I would say, even if you take a global wise, so the highest international students are studying in US. So if you take for an example, Australia, so we have about 40 plus universities all over Australia. So even if you take New Zealand, so we had about 15 plus universities in New Zealand. But if you take US, we have 5,000 plus universities and institutions in US where you actually have a bigger opportunity to study. And most of students from the other part of the world are going to America. So we call it as United States of America. So that's where I would say the biggest international student market is. So, and there are a lot of opportunities for students in US, like the other countries too. So most of students, they really want to go to, I would say, Australia, for an example, because they can stay back for another 2 years to get working exposure and the experience, and they can come back and use that in Sri Lanka. But you have the same options in US too, which will be talked further. But I would say US is the highest international student market. Why not US?
That's true. So now, with what's going on in the country and in the world, a big question for that matter is, no matter where we go, this whole point of quarantine is required. So when it comes to a student going from Sri Lanka to USA, what sort of a quarantine procedure is that?
Yeah, so before I come into that question, so I would just give a little bit of intro to, to understand who's 𝐂𝐂𝐍𝐊𝐀. So what we hear is Expert Education is one of our premier partners based in Sri Lanka. So they recruit students to us. So we don't do recruitment. So we actually manage, operate and own universities and institutions all around the world. So we're particularly talking about US today. So only in US, 𝐂𝐂𝐍𝐊𝐀, we have closer to 60 universities, probably each and every state in US. So students from Sri Lanka, they have opportunity to apply any of the institutions that they would like to. So the main the programs or levels we're talking about, we have a PhD, research, those that too, but the diploma and certificates. But many students from Sri Lanka, they apply for a bachelor's degree, either for master's. So only with 𝐂𝐂𝐍𝐊𝐀, you have closer to 9,000 course options, which you can actually speak to Expert Education and get further details. So question was about the quarantine.
Yes.
So So usually, if you are fully vaccinated, so which is being recognized by the US government, so you probably will have to provide a PCR, which will be taken just within 48 hours, and prove out. I know most of Sri Lankan kids are luckier now because they got the Moderna and the Pfizer. So, but many other who are like maybe 30 plus, who maybe probably looking at master's qualification, they probably got the other vaccination, which may not be recognized or maybe allowed to enter country without a quarantine. So, but it's a normal procedure. You arrive in US, get quarantined for 14 days, and which is on your arrival you provide a 1 PCR, and after 14 days another. So then you're through to come and study. So most institutions, what they like, say for example, you coming into US, so you haven't been there before, so you got no idea what to do. So most of the university we have facilities now. You can get yourself in quarantine, probably at a hotel which was nominated or given by the government, or some of the school facilities too. So you can come to the hostel, stay there for 14 days, self-quarantine, and all depending on which vaccination you have taken. But that's a case by case. But all students could get into the country if you're fully vaccinated, and if you're happy to go through the quarantine period. And the university is also thinking of now there will be a cost involved. So if you're staying at a hotel, and you have to be picked by the airport too. So being a provider, so the university, so we thinking of sponsoring or maybe bear a cost of this quarantine period. So probably like say $2,000 or $1,500 will be paid by the university. So, but to get further information, which university would pay my quarantine fees, or maybe which one will accept me, you probably have to come and speak to Expert Education. But you welcome to US. Yeah.
So that's good to know. I mean, with the new normal, moving abroad is a big question that so many people have. We're scared, we don't know what to do. It's the uncertainty has literally gone off the roof. So it's brilliant that we have an institute like yours that you could come in and talk to, get these procedures sorted. So we spoke of the choices, we spoke of the quarantine procedure. Let's come back to the typical normal that we used to know, the visa procedure. To give a small brief on what that is.
Yeah, so first of all, I'm not a visa consultant to speak for or neither. I don't have authority to speak about, but I will say in general how the process it works. So the main reason what I initially even said, we work with Expert that has a recruitment partner, because they handle all the admission processes and the visa processes for students for free of charge. So, but if you compare with the other popular destination where the Sri Lankan students want to go and study, I would say the easiest visa process would be for US, and also the admission process. So what happens initially, you apply to a particular institution and a program. So you will be offered by the university, we call it as a letter of offer. And then if you accept that, you will be given an I-20. So the I-20 will be coming by courier and the soft copy by an email to the agent. So it will take, depending on institution again, so probably will be a week up to a month. So some university may give you an I-20 within a couple of days, but some university may take up to 1 month to give you an I-20. So applying process, as I said earlier, so some university will waive off your application fees, and some will charge you from $50 to $250. That's again depending on which institution that you will be choosing. So about out of 55 institutions that I said we have, almost 50% of them we waive off application fees. So you don't need to pay anything. So for an example, you're applying, so we can waive off your application fees. So you apply, obtain a letter of offer, and then you accept it, get an I-20. So once you have your I-20, that means you're ready to lodge your visa application. So if you compare the other countries, like the most popular ones, so you get your letter of acceptance, then you pay your tuition fees, then you apply your visa. By US, you get your letter of acceptance, you apply your visa, then you pay. So you can either pay in Sri Lanka, or you can pay on your arrival in US. The good thing is US visa process will take only 24 hours. So you go for an interview today, you get your visa, that means you collect your passports tomorrow. So it's pretty easy. I would say the easiest, if I even say a country which is just next to us, maybe next to Sri Lanka, would take about 7 days for visa processing. But the US will take only 1 day, which is 24 hours. So easiest visa process ever.
Now, more on to a very costly, serious topic. Now, say you get everything sorted. You've chosen your degree, you've chosen whatever you want to expertise on. But what about the cost of living? Is that the cost of living is very, very high? A lot of people say that it's very, very expensive to go and live in USA. Is it true?
No, I would say it always depending on the way you're living it. So depending on your lifestyle and how much. Say for example, if I take even some of my personal experience. So there are a lot of kids, my friends that I know who have gone to many countries, so like US and the others too. But some of them, they claim that it's very expensive because that's the way they're living it. And some say it's like, oh, this is very affordable, better than Sri Lanka, because that's how your lifestyle would be. So I would say it's always depending on your lifestyle, whether is it expensive or not. But if you ask, the question that you asked me was like, is it expensive? I would say no. So it's very, very competitive. Either I would say very affordable. So, and taking an example, so there are some universities you can actually stay on campus too. So like many, I would say 90% of university, we recommend students to stay on campus at least for your first year. Then you can go outside after your second year itself. So staying on campus and studying, so together, I would say the cost would be somewhere like $25,000 to $30,000 in an average. So depending on which university we're going to choose to. So there are some university would go probably like, you know, 44,000 also. So, but I would say again, it is very affordable living in US comparing to the other popular destinations that we have that you just don't want to go and study.
So it basically comes down to how you want to live.
Yeah.
Your expenses.
Technically.
So even if you stay here in Sri Lanka, some people might say it's extremely expensive. You're spending everything.
Yeah. You spend 100,000 a day, or maybe you can spend 100,000 a month. So
depends on the person.
Yes.
Okay. So it's not true when people say that USA is expensive.
No. But I would say when whatever you're going to be spending in US will have a value for money, because that will be like it would have a quality. So, and you will have a quality life for the amount that you're going to spending in US. So I would say you're going to have a better life for the better price.
Right, nice way to put it. Okay. Now, speaking of these costs and the expenses, do students have methods of earning something when it comes to USA? Maybe a part-time job?
Yeah, so the students are allowed to work 20 hours per week on campus for the first year.
Right.
So as you where or probably you have seen, you know, in the movies, or if you have been to US before, so the US universities has a better fully fledged, you know, the campus facilities. So it's not just a one building we're talking about as a university. So it's a huge area, like, you know, acres of acres, you know, it's a huge area. You're living on campus. So, you know, your entire maybe like 4 years or 2 years of your education going to be on campus. So you will not be able to, you know, it's not like you will be in a one room and a one building. No, it's like huge place. So that a lot of students will have a lot of opportunity of working on campus itself. So I would say 99.9% of students will get, you know, the job opportunities on campus. So that when you're coming in, there are a lot of students that are going out, you know, after the graduation. So students are allowed to work 20 hours per week on campus for the first year. But if you want to work more, or maybe if you want to work outside, you probably have to obtain an I-9, like H-1B visa or another visa category, which we call it as a work permit. But the question was the part-time. Yeah, you were allowed to work 20 hours per week on campus.
So now the general thing that we hear of, you know, when it comes to universities, the normal thing, it's different from that.
Okay.
Right. But you do have opportunity to work.
Yeah, everybody can work 20 hours per week.
Also within campus as well.
On campus.
On campus.
Okay.
20 hours a week on campus.
Yeah.
Right. So the ideology behind it is you get your theory sorted and as well as you get your practice. And you get to know people.
Okay.
Great. Alright. Now, a massive concern for us Sri Lankans especially. Now, we come from a tropical country. You see USA as a country which has everything.
Yeah.
Seasons and all that jazz. And even in movies, you see how people react to stuff. And from a tropical country, when a student is to go abroad, how is the climate change?
So I would say it's not a big barrier because you have all seasons, so it's not like cold every day, or it's not hot every day. So if I'm a student, so I'm choosing US or maybe even another country as my study destination, I probably will do research first. So if I'm someone who can't handle cold, or maybe if I'm someone like I really hate summer, so I would choose a campus, so which is more towards where I'll have a big longer winter than the summer. So if someone is like you can't handle cold and you prefer summer, stay by the beach, live by the beach, or maybe the summer kind of the holiday kind of feeling. So I would probably use a school which is in a state, so it has a more summer, which is a longer summer than the cold. I would say weather is not a barrier or a question, because you do a research before anyway, so you apply. So I'm not going to talk about another country now, but comparing to US, so there are 5,000 plus institutions, a lot of states that you could choose from. So it will be depending on a student, so you can either choose maybe place where it has all 4 seasons, or maybe you can go where it's like freezing cold whole time, or maybe you go somewhere which is like hot always. So no, it's not a barrier or it's not a question.
If anything, it's more variety for us.
Yeah.
Exactly. Alright. So now let's talk about the USA education system in comparison to other common destinations that children go to.
Yeah.
Is there a significant difference? And if so, what?
No, I would say it's the same. So, but there would be a different when it comes to the duration. So the US bachelor's degree, we call it, it's a 4-year degree, and the master's degree, it's 2 years. So where some country, say for example, if you take UK, so the bachelor's degree is just 3 years, master's just 1 year. So which has the US is 4 years plus 2 years. So we also have a program called associate degree and the bachelor's degree, which is 2 plus 2. And but no, I would say it's not different comparing to the other popular country, but there would be duration. But it's depend again the programs. I say, like, if you have done something in Sri Lanka relevant to your higher studies in US, you probably could ask for exemptions or a top-up program.
Right.
So if you have done 1 year in Sri Lanka, you can go for a second year onwards, then your program going to be for 3 years. So if you have completed your associate degree in Sri Lanka, you can go for just final 2 years in US. So other than that, I don't see any big difference in the education system. But I would say US has a better recognition and the better quality, and most of the top universities in the world are from US. So, but that would be the highlight, I could say, the duration, but nothing
Apart from that, it's all
no.
Right. Okay, so when we are talking into parts of bachelor's degrees and masters, can kids get scholarships? And also, what's the average cost for studying?
Okay, so if I talk about 55 universities, what we have under EduCo umbrella, so we have scholarships starting from 25%, and that could even go up to like 100% full scholarship. But does not mean it's guaranteed.
Right.
So there are some scholarships that we call it as maybe like 25%, or maybe an amount, so like $15,000 or $10,000 US dollars, that could be your guaranteed scholarship. But if you're looking at bigger scholarship, depending on your merits and your current qualification, so then you had to go through the scholarship procedure. So you had to apply, get an offer letter, then you had to also be eligible, or maybe you're fitting to that framework that the students will get 100% or a 75% scholarship, but rather I tell you a specific amount that would be your scholarship. That could be range from 10,000, maybe I would say starting from $3,000 minimum, and that could go up to 100% of your tuition fees. So depending on what's your current qualification. So you're not going to be making a decision at the initial stage. So you always have options of applying for many. So maybe like you apply to 2 universities, 3 universities, or 5 universities. So maybe one university offer you $10,000 scholarship, maybe another one may give you $25,000 scholarship. So then you could choose which one you want to go for. And again, sometimes, you know, maybe the fees are very high. So $50,000 scholarship, $50,000 tuition fees university would give you 50% off. That would be 25 then. But then there is somebody, you know, only $25 per year, but they gives you 15,000, but then your fee is going to be then 10,000. So instead of I tell you exact amount, that would be vary from the institution and the program, but we have scholarship up to 100%. Okay.
So an average cost of one of those institutes?
Tuition fees?
Yes.
I would say starting from $15,000 for an year, and could go up to I don't know, yeah. So, because if I take an example, like Nebraska University, which is managed and operated by EduCo. So our tuition fees per year, it's about $25,000, but we have a guaranteed scholarship for Sri Lankan students worth of $15,000. Then the tuition fees comes down to $10,000. So then again, the average would be depending on the institution, but if I give you a range, starting from $10,000 to $15,000, and that could go up to,
whatever amount.
Whatever amount. Yeah.
All right. So now, if we are to talk about a fresh student, person that just finished their levels,
Yeah.
do you think that they have the opportunity to go out, maybe to America? And do you think it will be manageable for such a student?
Okay. So the first, from the visa point of view, so and the institution, we actually recommending students right after the education. So when, like, say if you have a student right after A levels but have not done anything for like 2-3 years, and now all of a sudden they want to go and pursue further studies and maybe start a bachelor's degree, university may probably ask you first, what made you to study after 3 years?
Yes.
And then when it comes to visa, again, that would be questions. So like,
Yeah.
why are you were not doing anything for like 2-3 years and you want to go and study now? So I would say the good time would be right after your A levels. So there are a lot of kids even come like, you know, when they're 17 plus and the 18 plus. So because you live on campus, so it's very secure, and you're not going out. So and you can see the feedbacks even before you apply. But I would say if I'm a student and looking for opportunities in US, I will apply right after my A-levels. Even sometime maybe I'll launch my application before my A-level results comes out and obtain a conditional offer letter. And when I get the results, then I make it unconditional, and then rather waiting, so then apply visa and go to America. That would be the best time because you're finishing your A-levels in Sri Lanka somewhere like when you're 17, 18.
Yeah.
Yes. So then if you apply as a fresher, then you can finish your bachelor's when you're like 22 or 23. So you're not wasting your time. And it will be hard for you to, you know, convince a visa officer if you have a huge gap after your education. So I would say the best time would be right after A-levels.
Right after A-levels, but you could even apply with pending results.
Yeah.
Is it?
But that's for bachelor's. But
Right.
yeah. For
Okay.
masters is okay, so you know. But for bachelor's, I would say right after your A-level results, or maybe until you get your A-level results, it's a good time to apply. So there is nothing called like the freshers can't go, but I would say that would be the best time for you to go and get international exposure and then come back.
Right. So let's go a step further. Say, for example, you're done with your studies.
Yeah.
What exactly would be the stay back options that a student might have?
Yeah, there are a lot of stay back options in US. I would say the one thing, if you study anything related to STEM program, we call it as science, technology, math or engineering. So you can stay back in US for 3 years. We call it as OPT, optional practical training. Or if you study anything else, you can stay under OPT for 1 year. But there are institutions which also provides you what you call internship while you study, and you also do have an OPT option anyways. But what a lot of students does is they go and do their bachelor's degree, and they work on and get the practical training on OPT, and then they do masters, and then maybe another OPT, or you obtain your H1B, which is your work permit, and then go on and work in US for some time. So then you come back and serve Sri Lanka. So that's the plan. So I would say, because most students, they want to just go and study then come back, because you have ties here, you have parents who lives here, and you don't want to live in US forever. But it's good to get work experience for some time. So I would say study and then work for 1 to 2 years, or maybe OPT for 3 years, then come back. Yeah. So the question was stay back option. Yes, you can stay back on OPT.
Right. So I think that covered from start to finish, starting off university life to ending it, and then possible other options as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the other good thing is, like, for all that information, to know whatever we were talking about today and how to apply, lodge an application, how much should I need to show to get my visa, and how much should I need to show to the university to obtain an I-20, or maybe how to book my air ticket, and how to book my accommodation, and how to contact me or maybe another university from US. So the best place for them, or maybe anyone who's listening at home, for you to come to Expert Education and get information free of charge. Or maybe even you want to go somewhere, so probably come and speak to them. Yeah.
You might have convinced.
Yeah.
You might have, because like you said, USA is not a very common country that you hear a lot of people going to. But then now that we know that it's actually a land of opportunity, we could go ahead and then come over, talk to us, and then see how everything is, and then hopefully get in contact with him and maybe pave your path for a brighter future. So once again, thank you so much for coming in and then breaking a couple of myths that we had about USA, and of course clearing the path. And that was Chami Jayamaha, the country manager of 𝐂𝐀𝐍𝐊𝐀. So there you go. Any concerns that you had about USA, I'm pretty sure you must have found out answers for it. But if you want further information, do not worry. All you have to do is contact Expert Sri Lanka. You'll get all the information that you need and more. Alright, with that, I'll see you with the next tip.
Expert Education and Visa Services, the registered education agent.